So now we are going to learn the two most important widgets of Flutter that are used in rows and columns. So these widgets are the flexible and expanded. So down here we have the same home page, and inside we have the scaffold and the rows and containers, which we have learned in the previous sections of rows and columns. And I also have separated the rows and columns in the next stateless widget in order to keep our sections separate. So now we have learned the rows and columns, and now we will learn some other things and will perform it in here in the home page, and then we will also separate it in here. So for that I have created another library, or we can say a file of Dart, and simply separate it in the stateless widget. So now we are going to learn the two other widgets that are the expanded and flexible. But before going forward, let me clear one more thing. That is, we have this emulator and we have the fixed size of our screen. But in our rows and columns, if we set the width or height of a widget too high, so it will overflow from the screen and will give us an error with such a long stack in our run console. So let me show you that. If we set the width of this first container to 1000 and simply press the Ctrl and S to hot reload, and again open up our run console. So you can see in here we got this long stack in here, and it's saying the render flex overflowed by 680 pixels on the right, just because we have increased our width with 1000. So in this case, what we will do, so we will use these expanded or flexible widget when some render flex exception occur. So now the question is how we can use it in our Flutter application to overcome this render flex overflowed by 680 pixels on the right. First, let's understand some concept of this expanded and flexible widget. The expanded widgets expand a child of a row or column at the main axis alignment and take all the available space. But on the other hand, the flexible widget will do same like this, but there is only a little difference between these two widgets. That's why I wrote their description the same. So now let's go and use them. So down here in the row, we have this container which has the width 1000 and overflowed from the screen at the right side. And this in our emulator looks something like this. You can see it in the emulator. It's overflowed from the right side by 680 pixels, which looks really small in here, and you can see this banner in here. So now to overcome this, first we will wrap this container with an widget. That will be our expanded widget. So after wrapping this container with the expanded widget, this will take all the available space at the main axis alignment of the row. So the main axis alignment of the row is horizontal, so it will take all the horizontal space that is available. So now press Ctrl and S to hot reload to check the results on our emulator. Now open up the emulator, and you can see it got all the available space except the space that is used by the two other widgets that are our containers. And also with this, the render flex exceptions is also gone from here, just because this expanded widget expands or make our container flexible to not overflow from the screen and simply take only that space that is available at the main axis alignment of the row. Now no matter if you increase this width of container to 2000 or 3000 or 4000 or even 10,000, this will not affect this, just because we have expanded it and it make it flexible to take only the space that is available at the main axis alignment of the particular widget that is our row. If it were the column, so it will take all the available space at the main axis alignment of the column, that is the vertical space, just because the main axis alignment of the column is vertical. Now press again Ctrl S to also check this 10,000 width. You can see nothing happens, just because it takes only the available space that is available at the main axis alignment of the row. And also if we change this expanded to flexible, so now press Ctrl and S to also see its results. So you can see it gave us the same result as the expanded. But now if you change the width of the container to again 50, just like this, and again press Ctrl and S to run this, just like this, and open up your emulator, you can see it does not take any available space. But in case of expanded, even if we do not specify the 1000 or 100,000 width to the container, this will still take all the available space, Let me show you in here. If you make again this container expanded, and now we have not give the 1000 width to overflow from the screen, and again if you press Ctrl and S and open up our emulator, so this will still take all the available space at the main axis alignment of the particular widget. But the widget flexible, in the result it do not take all the available space and give us the result something like this. So what's the difference between them? So the difference between them is the flexible widget will share the available space of the parent widget but will not force the child to take all the available space and fit in the main axis alignment fully of the particular widget like row and column. But on the other hand, the expanded will share the available space of the parent widget and force the child to change its width or height in case of rows and columns to fill all the available space. And you have seen this already. We have used the flexible widget. So here you can see it is not forcing the child container to take all the available space, but in case of expanded, if you make it just like this and again press Ctrl and S to hot reload and open up our emulator, so you can see it takes all the available space at the main axis alignment of the row and force this first container to change its width or height, width in case of row and height in case of column, and will take all the available space. So it took all the available space just like this. And we can also do one more thing in here. What if we make all these 3 widgets expanded just like this? Now press Ctrl and S to hot reload and open up the emulator to see its result. So 3 of the containers got the same space in here. So as we have wrapped 3 of the containers in the expanded, so that took all the available space and become equal just like this. And we have one property in our expanded widget, that is the flex property. Now if we set this flex to, let's say 2, so this will take more space than these 2 expanded widgets or these 2 containers wrapped by the expanded widget. Now press Ctrl and S to hot reload and open up the emulator. You can see this container got more space or the double space and give them the space like this. And they are covering all the available space as these are the expanded widgets. And these can also be like in the column. To make this column, now again press Ctrl and S to hot reload and open up the emulator. So now it expands at the main axis alignment of the column, and the first container widget is larger than the other 2. Like this is larger than these 2 just because it has flex 2. And also if we remove the width and height of these containers just like this, so they will cover the whole screen of the mobile. Like Ctrl S to hot reload and open up the emulator. So these 3 containers took all the available space just like this. The first container is larger than these 2 just because, as I said, we have set the flex to 2 just like this. And if we set this flex to 3 and again press Ctrl S to hot reload, so this will take more space just like this. So you can use these expanded and flexible widget to make the flexible UI for your application. And these expanded and flexible widgets will only be used inside the rows and the columns. And you will learn more about them if we go for building a beautiful UI for our application. So for now, that was it about the flexible and expanded that you need to know about these widgets.